Well, it works out that year, my group study exchange team, group study exchange chairman in the district was a Frenchman. And he spoke French very well, and he could communicate with the Haitians much better because that's their native language. So he called down and he got Arlette, Amos's wife, on the phone. She was beside herself. This was about noon on Monday. She was beside herself. They'd had Amos in the background when they called with these ransom requests, torturing him in the background. She didn't know what to do. People that live in Haiti, the wealthy people don't have any money, and they didn't have that kind of money. But the kidnappers had reduced the demands from $300,000 down to $40,000. And if you'd asked me on Sunday if I would ever send money to a kidnapper, I would have told you not in a million years. But when it's a friend, when it's under this circumstances, I saw things differently. And our sitting district governor, J.D. Grimm, my group study exchange team leader, and myself all got together and we pledged between us $5,000 to help Amos. J.D. called up about 4 in the afternoon and he got a hold of Arlette. He says, Arlette, we've got some help for you. She said, we got him free. Well, J.D. said, that is wonderful. She said, do you want to talk to him? And J.D. said, yeah, I really do. And he started talking to Amos. He said, Amos, we've got some help for you, some money to help you. And Amos said, oh, that's, we really need the help, and thank you so much for thinking of us. And J.D. says, how do we wire it to you? And Amos said, I don't know, I'll have to figure it out. He said I'll drop you a note and let you know. And J.D. said, well, I've got a new email address, let me give it to you. And Amos said, I have to give you to Arlette. He said, I can't write, they broke all my fingers. Well, we got that information. We got a hold of the friends that helped host this Haitian team. They'd never met Amos, but they knew the other Haitians. And amongst all of us, we raised over $10,000 to send back to Haiti to help Amos. And it's a good thing. Amos had just been selected to be minister in charge of eliminating corruption in government in Haiti. And a past governor and a man of his character was a perfect man for the choice. So I think our donation actually helped Haiti as well as helped Amos. He'd had to borrow, or his wife had to borrow that money to get him away from the kidnappers. And they had to mortgage their children's education, all of that. And we really did help him, but Amos is down there helping Haiti right now get back to where it needs to be. And I feel like we really made a difference. We did find out later, by the way, that a man had been kidnapped from earlier from one of the political figures in Haiti had been kidnapped 3 weeks before Amos, and he had been murdered. But Amos is alive and well, and thanks to his friends, still able to contribute to Haiti. You learn things about people. Gilbert and J.D. and I had made that pledge for the $5,000, and the bulk of that came from me. And I don't want to describe Sherry as frugal, but frugal is maybe an understatement. So I always consult with her when I spend, a lot of money. And I had made this decision without her. And you learn a lot about people when those sort of things happen. And I called her and I told her what I had done. And I'm really proud of her because she said, aren't we fortunate that we can help our friends? So, I love you for that. Got a call one day. I was in the glass business and I ran a glass shop, and I got a call one day from this lady, and she had she spoke good English, but she had an accent. Very pleasant lady. And she said, I got these mirrors, and she said the edges have turned black. I said, that happens, on mirrors when they get older. If you use the wrong harsh cleaners, that'll happen. And she said, well, I understand there's something you can do to fix that. I said, well, you really can't fix it. I said, but there's this product called beveled mirror strips, and they're strips of mirror that are beveled on the edges, and you cut them to fit and put them over that black spot. It covers it up. It looks beautiful. Oh, she says, that's wonderful. She said, how hard are they to transport? I said, well, you know, they're pretty fragile. I said, where do you live? And she got to laughing. She said, Bombay. I said, and I got to laughing too. And I said, well, I don't think they're going to make it. I said, and I mentioned I had some friends in Bombay, and I was thinking in particular Callie Banerjee, past president of Rotary, and she said, oh, she was the most pleasant person in the world. She said, oh, she says, my husband's a Rotarian. She says, let me let you talk to him before I could say yes or no or anything. And here he comes on the phone, Harshad Shah, and we traded Rotary stories with him for a little bit, and just had a good time. He said, I've got some Paul Harris Fellows I'd like to present in Dallas while I'm here. He said, is there a chance you could help me with it? And I said, sure, and we lined up a Rotary Club to do that with, and we got his wife and a local doctor, and his daughter was there, and we presented some Paul Harris Fellows to him. And the reason for presenting this Paul Harris Fellow, and the reason he was in Dallas at that time, was to see this particular doctor. See, he explained that his Rotary Club, and not everybody in India, by the way, is poor. His Rotary Club's fairly well off. But his Rotary Club had seen that in that part of India, a lot of women were dying unnecessarily of breast cancer. And it was because they didn't have the early detection. You women have to go through that every so often, periodically, and it's a good thing you do because it saves a lot of lives. But they didn't have a mammogram machine for the area, and the women didn't go and get that done until it was too late. So they bought this mobile mammogram machine, got a grant to do it, and had the mammogram machine, and they had a big deal. They have pretty big parties when you that have been to India know about things like that. When they do these things, they have a pretty big party to inaugurate this mammogram machine, and everybody showed up, and all the women showed up, and they opened the door, and nobody went in, and all the ladies were scared to go in there. Well, Harshad, his wife, who's this wonderful lady, determined she was going to be the sacrificial lamb, and she was going to be the first in there and lead these ladies in and show it's okay. And she went in, and they found a lump, and it was breast cancer. And that mammogram machine that their club had made for other people saved her life. I presented the Paul Harris Fellow to one of the world's best breast surgeons that saved her life in Dallas as well. Things happen for a reason. We became pretty good friends, and Harshad called me up a year ago. He said, hey, I need some help. And I said, what's up? He said, well, in India, there's a lot of people that are still crippled from polio, and some little bit of surgery will help that, or they need help getting around. And we've got people that have lost limbs, lost arms, legs, things like that. And we want to set up a clinic to help mobilize these people. Well, that's something I believe in. I think it's a good thing. And he said, will your club help? And I said, sure. And he said, I've met some folks from down at Duncanville Club, and he said maybe they could help too. And I called them up, and they decided they wanted to help too. Let's see how I get this done. Which one do I push? There we go. Must be aiming it the wrong way. There we go. There's a switch. How about that? So here we go. Here's our disability camp. Nature of disability: without legs, either one or both, without hands below elbows, without hands from the top, polio damage, one or both legs, cannot move, tricycle or wheelchair, desires crutches or a walker, polio corrective surgery. All good stuff, and every one of the people that benefits from this can become an active member of the community after they help them out. So that was a great thing, and our club agreed to do that. And if you look further down, it says the Rotary Club of Forney, Texas is one of us, and I'm mighty proud of our people for participating. Here they are at the main ceremony, and here's a guy getting his wheelchair. This tricycle, this is pretty cool. Yeah, and I got to looking at this thing. It's got a, I mean, they've fabricated this thing. It's crazy. But it's like a little trike, and it's got the steering up front, and it's pedaled by hand with just one pedal, one hand crank. But it looks like it works. And here it is. It says there 200 patients were fitted with limbs, with hand, foot, back, and knee straps. Also wheelchairs and tricycles and much additional equipment like walkers were given. We've asked some of them to come on the 28th and see if they're comfortable with the limbs. We may readjust if needed. Food was served to every patient and their accompanying family, family members. The camp was inaugurated by a local politician and head lady of Vedanta Ashram, and most important was the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. So this was a big deal. I'm very proud that our Rotary Club and myself and all of you that have contributed to the Rotary Foundation been a part of this. I went to another one of these Rotary events, and once again, I don't remember exactly where it was, and I don't remember who said it, but they were talking about the Rotary Foundation and the grants. When we give our money to the Rotary Foundation, they're very careful about how it's spent. Very careful. And when they do a project, they always audit it, go back, and sometimes in person they go to see what was happening. And they had this auditor, young lady from Rotary, that went to Africa to check on a water project. And she went to this village out in the, in the countryside of Africa where they had put in a water well. And it is, as it is in rural Africa anyway, the ladies really run the Law just nodded. The ladies really run the community. So she went to the lady that appeared to be the head of the community, and she said, they've got all this done for you. She said, they've got this water well. Is it working well? And the lady said, yes, it is. She said, has it made a difference to you? And I'll never forget what this guy said and what this lady had told to the auditor. She put it very clearly, and she put it as clearly as she could. She said, when they built the well, the children quit dying. When they built the well, the children quit dying. I've told this story before. A few of you haven't heard it. Those of you that have, please bear with me as I tell it. I was at my Rotary Club, and a guy named Orrin Bain showed up. And Orrin had been my international service chair, and he'd stayed on as international service chair after my year as governor. And he was great. He was really good at it. And one of the things that he had taken a liking to, and all of us had, was the Wheelchair Foundation. And at the time, it was easy to get it. Well, it wasn't easy. It was possible to get a grant for wheelchairs. But he got a grant. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. He came into the club, and he was going to talk about wheelchairs. And before the meeting, he came up to me and he says, Pete, he says, I'm going to talk about wheelchairs. I said, that's great, Orrin. That's a good thing. And he said, look me square in the eye. He said, I'm going to ask for money about this. And I said, yeah, I figured that. And while he was just looking at me in the eye, he said, I can count on you. Or he said, I found that there's people if people of authority in the club step up early and start the giving, the rest of them will contribute. He says, you'll do that for me, won't you? Thanks, Orrin. But he did his presentation, and it was a great presentation, and he'd gotten with Chevron Texaco, and they had also offered to match whatever we could come up with. The Rotary Foundation would match that, so instead of $150 for a wheelchair,